Uh, we've just watched, well, I've just seen, tell a lie, I've been listening to it on radio, Talksport radio, to a fight that just happened 10 minutes away from me. A great fight between Fabio Wardley and Joseph Parker. Now, what we saw here tonight is a fight between a guy who had limited amateur experience, white collar, as always talked about with Fabio Wardley, against a guy who had lots of experience as an amateur, an experienced pro, a top trainer, ranked probably number 2 in the world in the heavyweight division, in Joseph Parker. Highly experienced, been in with big punchers, been experienced, being dropped, got up and won fights, been knocked out, come back, gone on rehabilitation, fought some of the most dangerous men in the heavyweight division. And in that run, he has looked impressive. Then he comes against Fabio Wardley, who struggled against Justice Hooney, who, if you look at his background, has no right to be in the position he is today. However, based on guts, determination, a big heart, a good chin, a very good chin, and punching power, he was able to withstand all that Joseph Parker had to throw at him and still come out on top. It's not like Joseph Parker's a slouch or he's not a good fighter. Many people picked Joseph Parker to win this fight and to stop Fabio Wardley. And it looked like he was on his way to doing that at one point. But Wardley seems to be able to find a way to suck it all up. So who's the more experienced fighter now? When you look at it, who's the more experienced fighter? And who's experienced holding the fight? In the end, it was Wardley's experience. His experience, his ability to suck up punches, his ability to dig in deep, and his ability to overcome, regardless of what experience he's going to be put through by a much more well-rounded traditional boxer puncher, trained by a great trainer in Andy Lee. So where does this leave us in 2025? Do you have to have a stellar amateur background to then be an elite boxer? Is the level of boxing going down, or is it the fact that influencers have found a way to beat the system? I don't know. I don't know. So I don't know. Hi. I don't know what to say, boxing fans, because this one's got me stumped. I knew that Parker would double up the jab. I knew that Parker would hit Wardley with big shots, and I thought one of them big shots would have knocked Wardley out. But I underestimated the punching, the ability for Wardley to absorb a big punch. And he looked like in round 10, Wardley looked like he was ready to go. And then suddenly in round 11, I don't know if Parker was having some conversation in the corner with his trainer, catch and shoot or something like that. I think the trainer, Andy Lee, said get back on the jab. And I wasn't watching the fight, I just heard it. And then somebody saying Parker had something wrong with his eye. He was flicking his eye, so I understand he was in a lot of trouble, with a lot of distress for the eye. And it got stopped. Ironically, a few, 20 minutes earlier or 30 minutes earlier, Aspinall was in the UFC heavyweight champion of the world, was fighting Garney, and Garney thumbed him off, put a finger in his eye, and he couldn't see, so the fight becomes a no contest. So that's two people who fought tonight who've had something in their eye. Wardley's found a way to win yet again against a top fighter, so we have to give him credit. We have to give him all the credit in the world. We can't be going and saying, well, Joseph Parker wasn't good enough. Joseph Parker was good enough, but Fabio Wardley was better. How has this happened? Fraser Clark, was he the Olympian? Wardley never went to the Olympics. So where are we now, boxing fans? Where? That's the question I'm going to ask. You can't knock Fabio Wardley. He's done what? He's defied. He's defied the logic. You've got to do this, 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 and this, and then you'll get this. So you've got to fight, gain your experience as an amateur. You know what? And then you'll fight as a pro, and then you'll go this traditional route, maybe British, Commonwealth, European. Woody said, forget that. I'm gonna fight you. I'm gonna fight you. I'm gonna fight you. I'm gonna fight you. I think. What can you say? What can be said? There's nothing you can say apart from congratulations, Fabio Wardley, and Usyk's got lots of experience. He's got lots of amateur experience. He's got lots of pro experience. He's beaten all of Britain's best fighters. Now Fabio Wardley's in the mix, and you have to ask yourself the question: when Dubois was world champion, and they were trying to make that fight between Fabio Wardley and Daniel Dubois, you start asking yourself the question: Jesus, maybe Wardley could have beaten Dubois tonight. I thought Dubois was going to flatten him, but looking at things now, I think Wardley may have flattened Dubois now. And also you think to yourself, well, why? How the hell is Moses Atama fighting Pulev? Shouldn't Wardley have fought Pulev for the WBA title because he's ranked high enough? How does Itama jump the queue? I don't get it. I'm good. Hope you're good too. So I boxing fans, I'm confused. I'm truly confused. I don't know what to think. Do you know, I was having a conversation with somebody earlier about influencer boxing and misfits. And they were saying, well, maybe Fabio Wardley should be in the misfits category. I think tonight, having looked at what happened tonight with Parker, maybe I said to somebody in conversation, the fights of, I did a conversation, so the same person that said, possibly those fights with Chisora might have taken something out of Parker, and he has been down in previous fights of recent times. But no, Parker sucked up everything Wardley had, so we can't say that. And Parker was in the fight. It's not to say Parker wasn't in the fight. He was in the fight, and up to the 10th round, he looked like he was getting on top of Wardley. So we can't come out and start saying, well, the only thing I think that may have been detrimental to Parker, which I thought was actually good for him, was the extra added weight. So I thought, extra 20 pounds, yeah, if he hits Wardley with them kind of shots, he'll knock Wardley out. But then the negative to that is that it's 20 pounds heavier. That means you're not as fast, you're not as agile, so therefore your punches are, so you can brace yourself for the punches more. But if you're a little bit more sharper, the same punch you was catching Wardley with, maybe you would have knocked Wardley out because he's faster. So why they came up with that weight, an experienced fighter like Parker, I don't know. Did his camp go? I don't know. I'm not making excuses for Parker, because ultimately he said he was ready. Parker and Wardley just finished fighting at the O2 Arena, just round the corner from myself here. And Wardley has stopped Joseph Parker's sensation in the 11th round. In the 10th round, Wardley was in a lot of trouble. He came out in the 11th round. Parker had something wrong with his eye, and Wardley jumped on him and stopped him conclusively. That's what happened. So I don't know what to say. People say, "Oh, you don't." This is the thing. You don't know much about boxing. I think, well, tonight, what I think's next? Well, Wardley's lined up to fight Usyk for the heavyweight championship of the world. A guy who came from white collar boxing and has had a handful of fights is now going to be fighting the heavyweight champion of the world in his next fight. Parker could have kept going. He's been hurt worse than that by Zhang. It's an interesting point you make there. But did Parker want it? Is there a question mark in Parker? Or was Parker beginning to tire? Because I think he got stopped around the 10th or 11th with Joe Joyce too, right? I just wonder. I wonder in that 10th round where he hit Wardley with all them big shots, I wonder if that was him that had just shot his load and he wasn't fit for 12 rounds. I don't know. But Wardley hits like a mule, so I'm not saying anything tonight to discredit Wardley for what's happened tonight, right? He spun my head around completely. Completely spun my head around. I don't know what to think. I don't know what to think. Uh, the conspiracy theorists could come out and say possibly, uh, I don't know, they put something on Fabio Wardley's glove, therefore they put something in his glove. It was a right hand, I would say, but they put something in his glove and he made Parker's eye sting him so he couldn't see what was going on, and Wardley threw punches at him. Don't know. This boxing world, you never know. I'm not going to suggest that for 1 second. I just think it was good, clean punching, but I'm sure somebody will come out with some conclusion as to why Parker was blinking in the corner. I don't know. I don't know. Do you think it was a premature stoppage? Nah. You got to remember, Wardley, when he starts to hit you and you start putting them punches together, he's very much like Usyk. He can go into the late rounds and stop you. So Parker didn't look like he can defend himself. That's the thing. Parker got British beef tonight. I should have put a £20 bet on. Well, I think the David Hay curse has turned up again. Anytime Hay, I was saying, I just thought that anytime Hay puts a bet on a fight, look the other way. David Hay made a bet on Parker. He said, Parker's going to win the fight. Another fight. Does David Hay ever get fights right? That's the question. No, I don't think the fight was premature. I think that it was a good stoppage, to be honest. But the way Parker was dabbing his eye, he did not look like he was going to come back. So yeah, he got punched up tonight. Simple as that. There's no, you know, there's no. Could Parker come? They couldn't come back. Nowhere. I thought Parker could beat Usyk, but I, now Wardley deserved to win. Parker didn't get beaten up. But that's it. He didn't get beaten up, but he got punched up at the end. Then he Parker was in the fight in round 10. He was on the fight. He was out boxing Wardley, and in the 11th round, well, thoughts of Italma's rise to the division. What rise? I got no thoughts of Italma because Italma's done nothing. But then again, the way boxing's going at the moment, I mean, he hasn't done anything to warrant all this talk about him being a superstar. I mean, because now if Chisora goes and bowls over White into 1 or 2 rounds, then what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything about Atalma then, does it? So we'll see how White does against Chisora. He has had no rise so far. He's just got a lot of promotion. Um, let him fight someone like a Michael Hunter. I ain't fight Jerome Miller. I think fighting Pulev is, to me, I know Pulev's experience and all that stuff, but Talma's got the speed and the power. I don't think Pulev's is that great a puncher, but we don't know what sort of chin Talma's got. So let's see what. Yeah, he's fighting again. He's gonna fight. He's fighting Chisora on December the 13th. White's won. I think he's won 2 fights against Chisora. He knocked Chisora out in 1 fight and he beat 1 point. The first fight knocked him out. The second fight knocked Chisora out clean. So they're going to have the third fight now, a rubber match on December the 13th. And they're saying now Talman's going to fight Pulev for the WBA regular title. Congratulations on Don Charles Fighter, by the way, winning the IBO Cruiserweight Championship of the World. He looked awful in his last fight. Well, Chris Eubank Jr. will be world champion one day. Well, there's a number of things we've got to ask yourself. Who is he going to fight to become the world champion? And does he get past Conor Benn for a second time? You'd think he would do. But let's see. I like Junior too. Wardley impressed me a lot. But I think he got hit a lot tonight. Usyk will work him over. Well, Darius, it's a valid point you're making there. But I've said that. That's why I thought Parker would knock him out. But the boy seems to have a hard head, Wardley, and he takes a lot of shots. I don't know what Wardley's chin is made of, but he takes a heck of a punch. So, Usyk Fabio versus Fabio will not sell. Well, it might not be. It might be a point that then Usyk will vacate a title. Usyk wouldn't get out of bed for less than 15 million. Yeah. So then maybe that fight has to happen in Germany. Maybe Wardley isn't the home fighter, but Usyk being the home fighter and the home being in Germany. So Usyk may fight in Germany. He might fight and sell in Germany, right? So that's the one fight. That's how they could sell that fight, or sell that fight in Saudi Arabia. I don't see that fight being an O2 Arena fight, to be honest. Yeah, Saudi. The fight can happen in Saudi. That's a Saudi fight for me, in my opinion. Definitely a Saudi fight. What happened? Joseph Parker's gonna have to sit down. Paul versus Davis. It's making a mockery of the sport, really, isn't it? It really is. I heard that Tank is going to try and push himself up in weight. That's what I heard. So he's going to fight a heavyweight. But why are we seeing this fight, man? As I said, the only things I'm expecting to see now, two other things I'm expecting: man versus woman. So like Clarissa Shields versus a man. And the next thing I'm expecting to see is boxing rings, where if the fight's boring, they push a button and during the round the ring gets smaller so that it becomes a telephone booth fight. That's the only two things left I'm expecting in boxing. Or if not that, then a kangaroo fighting a man. That's it. I mean, absurd, ludicrous, shouldn't be happening, and eventually one of these influencers, unfortunately, one of these situations is going to go horribly wrong. But this is what we're in today. Usyk should vacate WBO and Fabio fight DDD, but I think Parker and the team will push for the rematch. Well, let me tell you something now. The other thing is, look, everything else, you say, what the hell? But everything else that kind of talked about event-wise in terms of boxing, it's happened. Okay, this fight, the predictions, well, that's 50-50 with prediction, right? But actually events, things that are happening, YouTubers being part of the boxing presentations. I said that would happen. I told about a league of boxing. I said that there'd be a belt they would create a belt, and then there'd be a boxing league, and then that belt would be the one that will kind of dismiss all the other belts. We are in an era now, people, of boxing. We're in an era now that it doesn't matter about your amateur accolades. It doesn't matter about whether you are what. It doesn't. That stuff does not matter. Two guys get in a ring and fight. That's it. The it's the yesteryear of we will look back and look at the guys like Hagar, Hearns, Leonard. People after a while will kind of die away, and the die-hard boxing fans will die out. Why? Because they're going to pollute this sport with absolute garbage. And then you have a younger generation, which is happening. They're bringing into boxing now a younger generation that knows less about fighters and see people like Jake Paul as great things for the sport. And Jake Paul has done some great things for the sport. But from what I see, it's going to be a lot of young people who don't know a lot about the sport that are going to be in positions to change the sport. That's what I see. And people like myself and those who really appreciate quality boxing are going to be put to one side, and it's going to be the younger generation. That's what I can see happening. I can see it happening. Fury and AJ will never fight. The ambition from both of them is long gone. Fury says he's retired. He keeps saying he's retired. You know what? Fury is destroying his own legacy by constantly saying he's retired, then he's not retired. We don't care. We don't care. Usyk has beaten Fury up twice. We don't care. And Joshua got ironed out by Dubois. We don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't see that's. I hear a story now that AJ is going to fight Wilder next year, early next year. AJ Wilder next year in Africa. That's what I heard. Don't know if it's true or not, but look, Fury, Joshua, Wilder, those three. We just don't care. I don't care no more. Yes, I'd like to see Joshua. I more would like to see Joshua versus Wilder, because Fury's always talking about retiring. I'm just not interested in Fury. I'm really not really interested anymore. It's nice to see him around and stuff and looking happy and great, and he's happy with his family. I don't care about Fury because I really. He had two fights to do something against Usyk, and two times He got beat by Usyk. That's it. I don't want to hear no more from him. I don't want to see a third fight with him. Much as I don't want to see a third fight between Dillian Whyte and Derek Chisora. I don't even care about Joshua versus Fury. I just don't, because it doesn't prove to me anything apart from the fact that Usyk beat both of them. I'm not interested. If you're going to even fight, I told people a long time ago, right? And they listened to me. I said Caballero Fury. Fury dodged a bullet when he was meant to fight Caballero, because Caballero would have beaten. I think Caballero would have beaten Fury. With that body attack he's got, he would have beaten Fury. But hey, that's neither here nor there. He went on to fight Wilder. Good move. But I don't care. I'd watch AJ Fury. I wouldn't care of it. Yeah, they're past it. You can't get away with no amateur record in the lower weights. Possibly, yeah. You're probably right there. You're probably right there. You're probably right. You probably got a really good point there, Jim Smith. You really probably got a good point. Um, but look, how many fights has Itama had? And we all talk about him beating Usyk. Isn't that like, I don't know? I mean, do we value what we have in Usyk, or is this another case of Fabio Wardley going in there and smashing up Usyk? If Fabio Wardley goes out there now and destroys Usyk, what are we going to say now? What are we going to say now? Listen, boxing fans, we got wobble our heads now. Yeah, the lower weight division, yes, of course. What are we going to say now, boxing fans? Because if Fabio Wardley now goes out there and destroys Usyk, or he beats Usyk, where does that put our heads? Are we going to start saying things like Fabio Wardley could beat Muhammad Ali? Are we going to start saying Fabio Wardley would have beaten Mike Tyson? Are we going to say that Fabio Wardley is one of the greatest heavyweights ever? Well, the way we talk about Usyk, then we've got to say that. I mean, mate, I tell you, this is a fascinating sport, but I don't know. I don't know. Okay, when Itama beat White, we could say, oh yeah, he was past it, and oh, he got an injury, or he's shot, his legs are gone, his chin's gone. All right, fair enough. We'd put that to one side. But Joseph Parker was big. He was strong. He was in shape. He looked good in the fight. He'd come off fights win with Deontay Wilder and Zhilei Shang. Do you know what I mean? He'd come back and put on Mark McCauley. He did well in those fights. So my head needs a wobble. I mean, I know you see different eras, and I totally agree with you on the different eras. But Usyk is of our era and our generation, and we've got a problem because well, my head certainly got a wobble now, because it doesn't make sense. If I sat down to you and I said to you today, a guy from the white collar background is going to come on and punch up Parker. If I said to you, when Parker was WBO heavyweight champion of the world, in 2025, he's going to fight a guy who's had a white collar background. He's going to fight a guy from white collar background, hardly any amateur experience. He's going to come up and punch up Joseph Parker. You would look at me and say, like, bro, you're talking rubbish. What have we seen tonight? What are we seeing tonight? Hello, Bayloric TV, shout out to you. Yeah, that's the old school, man. Old school. Bro, I don't know what to say there. I'm sure there are a lot of people tonight that are going to be absolutely sitting with their head, hand in their head going, what did I just see? Andy Lee's head's going to be given a wobble, because all their heads need to have a wobble. Lee's head needs to have a wobble. Joseph Parker's head needs to have a wobble. David Haye, anytime David Haye makes a prediction from now on, if he makes a prediction about a fight, I'm going to run to the bookies. Whatever David Haye says, I'm going to go opposite and I'll win money. I should have known the minute David Haye say that Parker was going to win the fight, I should have gone to the bookies. Maybe David Haye is code for bet the other way. If David Haye says Parker's going to win the fight, go and put money on the bookies. Honestly, that's the only thing I learned about tonight. If David Haye says this guy will win, there's no doubt in my mind this guy's going to win, go and put money on the other guy. Has David Haye ever got a fight right? I mean, I've probably got more fight predictions right than David Haye. But this fight here, they're just football commentators. Yeah. But I think we're moving into the era now. I heard another story. I don't know how true this is, but if this story is true, then it's another prediction that I've said that's going to come true. And I said that they're going to stop certain people coming to boxing events, and they're going to reduce the amount of people that come to media, and they're going to make it like the UFC. That's where they're going to go down the road of. And I heard there's a number of media outlets that was not allowed in or was not allowed to the event. That's what I heard. Don't know how true that is, but I was reading it up on Twitter. That's not good, but it is the sign of the times. Everyone thought Joe would win. I know, so everyone thought Joe would win. So David Haye jumped on a bandwagon of that, but I might, yeah. But David, I'm looking for my microphone, and that's for my gaming headset. My head needs a definite wobble tonight. I don't know what to think, people. I have no idea. While you're in the room, please do smash the like button. I do appreciate it. People in the room, please smash the like button. It takes a couple of seconds. Dana White hated when he was pressed by actual boxing journalists. Yeah, I think that's going to happen. I think we're going to see anybody who thinks they're clever, anybody who thinks that they are trying to find out answers, any truth seekers, or people who are going to go against, talk about the Muhammad Ali Act. I think they're going to get limited access. I think that's going to be the way forward, because there might be some shady dealings in boxing, and to avoid all of that, they will stop a lot of these outlets. And unless you're part of the in crowd, then you're not going to allow access. I think your likes are off. It doesn't have a count. Very interesting, because it's got up here. Yeah, smash the like button, people. I can see it. Malinaji, Bare Knuckles, you see that? Yeah, they're on, yeah. Liking doesn't add any numbers. I clicked earlier. Thank you so much. Ironic that Haye is sponsored by Highbet. So that means maybe David Haye's a red herring. Maybe David Haye, you remember he said he betted himself, or when he talked about it in the third round, he stopped Audrey Harrison, and when they asked him afterwards about betting himself, he had to reel back what he said. Maybe David Haye is making his bets on his fights. He's saying, like, I think this guy's going to win, and he's actually making bets the other way. And if that's the case, then David may be onto something. Because have you noticed, nearly every fight David Haye calls, the other guy wins? So I'm starting to think to myself, well, if that's the case, do you know what? I'm going to watch David Haye in his next fight. Whatever David Haye says in the next fight, I'm going to go and put money the other way. I've got to test his theory. I've got to test it, because it's odd. David Haye Mafia. I still love David. I love David. David's funny, man. He's a funny guy. David Haye and Chris Schubert Jr. Two guys I love to hear talk. Do you think Dana White's boxing promotion is going to increase the special access for journalism? Absolutely. I said it already. I think there's going to be a reduced amount of media. I think the only media that's going to be allowed in these fights, are going to be the old boy network. In other words, those ones that have been around a long while are in the in crowd, the yes crowd, those ones who won't rock the boat and ask real questions. Those ones who are comfortable. They're the guys that are going to stay in the boxing. That's what's going to happen that way. I was never ever a part of that, never interested in being a part of that, and that's probably why I wasn't liked when I was doing what I was doing, because I was damn good at getting my interviews, and in the end I said, you know what, I don't need to be going to these fights to get interviews. I can get interviews with these fighters by just ringing them up and doing Zoom calls, and that's what I did, and that's what I was doing for a hell of a lot of fighters. It got to a point where fighters were calling me. I'd get Keith Thurman on the phone ringing me, but of course I'm a professional cricket coach. That's not I did it for a while and I enjoyed it, but it can become very repetitive after a while, and people can be very ungrateful when you do an interview and somebody will make a smart comment in the comment section. You don't realize how long it takes to go there, do the interview, get think about what you're doing, put it all together for someone smart ass in the corner and leave a little comment, and you're like, man, I put all my heart and soul into this, and this is what I get in return for it. So I thought, forget all this. I'm not doing this. So I didn't bother. I did a whole lot of interviews for a whole lot of fighters. You know, Terence Crawford, you name it, Muhammad Ali's brother. You know, it's great fighters. Evander Holyfield, got them. But that's beside the point. Do you think more cards will be into promotion? Absolutely. The more fights they keep in house, the fighters stay. Look, I the way I see things moving forward, I see a lot of these promoters being wiped out. What will have to happen? The promoters will become feeders, and they'll feed into the World Cup of boxing, right? So your Frank Warrens and your boxers and all these other like promoters, what will end up happening? There'll be less promoters and more fighters being fed. And I think what they'll try, if there's what they'll try and do is go to Africa. I think they'll go to Africa, and I think they'll set up like how the UFC have set up camps and set up training centers. I think they're going to set up boxing centers that will come under a certain, I don't know, umbrella. These fighters will probably get taken, used, and people will think that these fighters are getting a lot of money. They'll get paid a little bit of money, and these guys will get to travel around the world. And I think what will end up happening is this thing called fights where knockouts will be the premium. So if you knock a guy, you'll get 30,000. But if you know, there might be some guys who can't punch, and if you can't punch, how are you going to get the 30,000? So every time they fight, they're fighting for that. Their real paycheck is getting a knockout, and if you can't get the knockout, you're not going to get paid the money. That's what I can see happening. That's just what I think will happen. I think fighters will have to rely on bonuses to get paid properly. That's what I think will happen. I think all this money, the Saudi money, I think that's going to dry up, and they're going to want to get their money back. That's what I think is going to happen. Do you think they'll win show system like that? Yes, they will, because Dana White, his business model will say, look, why do you see all these boxers? Why the hell are you paying all these fighters? They're not even putting on great shows. Look at this fight. Look, I'm paying these guys less money, and I'm getting spectacular shows. People are leaving boxing, going to UFC. Come on. So if we can use that same model for boxing, we can make more money. So why do you want to keep going with this boxing model? It doesn't work. That's what Dana White will say. And we can have one undisputed champion, just like we do for the UFC. Or we can use a similar model for the UFC here. Let's change up Muhammad Ali Act, and we can have that Muhammad Ali Act revoked for our league. And then what we do with our league, we have our undisputed belt, and then we might pay a little bit more in the beginning. So fighters all want to fight for that. They'll be fed up of paying for sanctioning fees. And then when they see is one true champion having that belt, there we go. That's how I think they'll do it. I think they're going to go down the UFC model. I really do. Why else would you bring Dana White in? And then if you can see how the UFC model lays itself out, and you see how they do their boxing interviews, and how they do the boxing weigh-ins, and how they do the UFC weigh-ins, we may begin to see that more often. And those who have the money are the ones that will control what's going on. So you might not see Turki Al-Sheikh's face in all these fights. You might not see it, but you can see the blueprints there. Do you understand? You might not see Turki at all these fights. You might see less and less of Turki at these fights, but you'll see the blueprint of what he wants. That's what I see. That's what I think. And if it's true that a lot of these people did not turn up tonight to the O2 Arena, a lot of these media didn't turn up tonight, it may have been a trial system. So, I know a lot of people in boxing. I know the snakes in boxing. And the snakes in boxing will watch this coverage. At some point they'll watch this coverage, they'll watch my show, watch my shows, but they'll watch shows of prominent boxing people and people that they think the public look at. They're not all caught up sometimes in the views. They'll look at what the public think and listen to things. And if it's anywhere near the truth, they'll say, right, this guy, and this guy, or this woman and this person, they're talking too much of the truth. Guess what? You know what? We don't want them at our events because it makes them look bad. It makes them look bad. This is what ends up happening. You don't think it's going to happen? Wait and see. Wait and see how boxing moves. You see how Eddie Hearn, when he does his press conferences, often the time he's the one asking all the questions at the press conference. So he invites the press, but he holds the press conferences. Well, there'll only be a certain select people, almost like when the president of the United States does these press conferences, he'll point out to the people in the crowd that he knows are safe to ask questions to. So everyone will put their hands up. He'll pick this person, that person, this person. So it'll be about yes mates, and yes rates. That's what it'll be about. I mean, they've caused a revival of some kind. Yeah, but that's the thing. Listen, they've got to do something to get you in. They've got to do something to. You got to taste something sweet, yeah. And we had a lot of nonsense going on before. So if they give you something sweet, you get sucked in. So then Turki Al-Sheikh becomes the savior of boxing, because boxing was in a bad state, and because two of the main guys, the two biggest promoters in the UK, were at war with one another, so we weren't getting the fights that were necessary. And then we had Boxer as well. So Turkey comes in, throws money at both of them. But I think Frank wants to. I've said it already on short. I think Frank wants to finish off Matchroom by doing another 5v5. That finishes him up. Sounds bleak. The future either of a UFC style Monopoly or Jake Paul fighting a kangaroo. Well, listen. If it's not a kangaroo and it's not a woman, then it's a robot. You think I'm joking? It's either an animal, a woman, or a robot. Because, and this is the reason why I say because, don't think of the mindset of me and you. Think about the mindset of these people that have got so much money. It's stupid, right? So you could have a robot fighting. How much does it cost to put a robot up there? And the robot can be the undisputed champion. Yeah, their robot could be their champion. And then these boxers have to go in the ring and fight against a robot. You think I'm joking? You stay there thinking these things can't happen. That I expect to happen with the robot, and the other thing I expect to happen is the ring. So imagine you're watching a bout, yeah? 5 rounds in, both guys are running around the ring. Like, example, the Devin Haney fight, the last fight Devin Haney had, yeah? When he was skirting around the ring and it was pretty boring to watch, yeah? He was doing it in his own way, his own masterclass, yeah? But nobody wants to see that. People want to see people going toe to toe. So what can end up happening? What will end up happening is they push a button, like maybe in round 5 or 6, they push one button and the ring starts to shrink. So all that nonsense, you running around the ring trying to be smart, they close the ring down, and then the guy who's a stalker and needs to get close and fight inside, well, it becomes like a phone booth. And then the fans get what they want, which is a war. That's not what the other guy wants. So just imagine. See this before your own eyes. I mean, I know it sounds like, mate, but if we don't open I opened my eyes and I looked into the future and said to myself, well, look, what would happen if this, and this? I talked about a Mike Tyson comeback. People said that couldn't happen. Hell, it happened. And it's going to happen again. I talked about a boxing league. Hell, it's happened. We're here, right? I talked about one belt, one face, one name, one champion. We are here. The Zuffa belt. So it started. So when I say these things, and you got to remember, these people are always looking for the next thrill, the next, that Parker Wardley fight was a great fight. But listen, we are not too far away from Rocky, right? And the Russian from, Dolph Lundgren, but that being a machine. We're not far from it. And don't tell me it can't happen, because you've seen it. You've seen these robots, these boxing robots. So it's not like it can't happen. Don't tell me it can't happen. I mean, you might not want to believe it, that is something, but it's coming. Man versus machine. An AI trained fighter. So imagine, just for a second, imagine a boxer with Floyd's movement and IQ, and with the punching power of a Julian Jackson, Imagine somebody who could box like Floyd, but with a punching power of a Julian Jackson. Jesus Christ. And like a chin like Wardley. As you imagine, the robot doesn't need to have any heart. Come on. And there's people in there, people out there in the world that have got the ego enough to go and do it. Smash the like button, guys. I will say these things because nothing surprises me. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. We're not there just yet, but it's coming. But it's coming. And if you see Turkey Al Sheikh near a robot, oh, we have robots and we use robots to train our fighters. That's the next crap you'll start hearing. Once you hear that, it's over. Robot versus fighter. It's happening. It's happening. It's only time that is holding us up, people. And people want the thrill. People will want the thrill. Listen, when Riker, she was the baddest woman on the planet, yeah? She was punching like a man. And what they end up doing? They put Riker, I can't remember her first name, Riker, I interviewed her as well. They put Riker in the ring with a man. So it's not like a woman has not boxed a man before. So it's not like it hasn't happened before. And the way Clarissa Shields is talking about she would punch up Jake Paul and she would punch up Keith Thurman. If the Layla Ali fight doesn't happen and she runs out of opponents, then why would not that be offered? Because you're saying you can punch up a man and we got the money for it and you're undefeated. So I think everyone's asleep. I don't care, to be honest. They can watch the replay. So I just think, honestly, most people are asleep, literally. And then afterwards they come back and say, I remember when you said that BWTN Sports. So I am bored of saying things and then coming to pass. But again, as I close this show off tonight, I'm going to say this much. That Wardley has completely ripped up the script in terms of ABA boxing, in terms of Olympic boxing, in terms of he's ripped it up. He's really ripped it up. He's beaten Fraser Clark. Say what you want, but he was an Olympian. He stopped Joseph Parker, who was a former WBO heavyweight champion of the world. So next up is Alexander Usyk, and I think to myself, you can't count out Wardley. You say to yourself, well, Usyk's got all the boxing ability and the skill in the world. Big up, Johnny. How you doing, my friend? Olympic boxing has lost its meaning over the years. This fight tonight clearly is, it has. But you've got to ask yourself, the next question is, have we lost out? Like, the next big thing we need to ask ourselves are, there's a lot of trainers that are running around that I think are doing more harm than good to our fighters. Trainers that are not qualified to be taking on big assignments. Honestly, there's a guy that's coming up shortly fighting, and up to this day, I've never seen that particular fighter have sparring partners, and he's about to go into another world title fight, and I've never seen him with genuine sparring partners. I've never seen him with sparring partners. And I asked the question, does this guy even spar? I think the add that weight may have due to the joist loss or being knocked out in sparring, or maybe just laziness. Parker shouldn't have bulked up to 260. He should be 220, 230 fighter. Yeah, that I did talk about that. I did mention that earlier. Good evening, Denise. Good evening, Tank Davis. Yes, Tank Davis. Good evening, people. Yep, we're alive again. Please, when you're in the room, please do smash the like button. I really appreciate it. I was just talking about what does Wardley's win mean for world boxing. He's beaten an Olympian. He's beaten a world champion. So experience means nothing now if you can punch up the other guy, which is what Wardley's done. The second thing I was saying is, because of the state of boxing today, yeah, he has. Because of the state of boxing today, and still trying to get the next lust, or the next, what they call it, to satisfy the cravings, right? I said it won't be long before we see robots in the ring against humans. Yeah, that's it, man. Against an Asian Usyk, you're right. You're right. Just got to make sure that Ben Davison doesn't turn around and ask Usyk who's his god, or start saying Usyk's a cheat. You better not start saying stuff like that, because that left hand, I wouldn't want to see that on Wardley's chin. But haven't seen him absorb what Parker's given him. You got to give him a shot, man. You got to give him a shot. I tell you what, with this fight, yeah, what I'm gonna do is whatever David Hayes says for this fight, I'm going to go the opposite way. So if David Hayes says Usyk's going to beat Wardley, I'm going to go and bet the other way. Everyone in the room, please do smash the like button. Wardley looked way smarter in his fight than the Hooney fight. Yeah, he did, but he looked in the 10th round like he was going to get stopped. So I don't know if Parker gave up. I don't know if Parker... I don't know what Parker... I don't know what to think anymore, man. I don't know. But what I do know is that Wardley punches like a mule. He's got a hell of a chin. He can take punishment. And he doesn't quit. I think Hooney has a good chance of coming back too. Could be a dark horse. The Hay method is unbeatable. I think the Hay method. Parker is finished, in my opinion. Too much spending time with Fury. I did worry about the weight for a second, but I thought maybe he bulked up for power. But it proved that maybe speed is the way. David, the president, hey, remember I used to say that? Yeah. So the president has spoken. The president said that that Parker definitely is going to knock out Wardley. He said it. So that means go the other way. Thank you, David. So if David says that Usyk's going to knock out Wardley, I'm going to go and put money on Wardley. Absolutely. So, I don't know. I was saying, the other thing is, I think the reason why, I think he bulked up because he got KO'd in sparring. I have nothing else to base this on, just feeling. Maybe. I just thought he may, I don't know. I don't know what to think, man. I don't know what to, but listen. Here's this. When Lennox Lewis got knocked out by Oliver McCall, yeah, he came back under Emmanuel Stewart with a lot more weight on him, right? So, if you look at Lennox Lewis after he got knocked out by Oliver McCall, and then you look at Lennox Lewis when he came back, had that comeback fight against Justin Fortune or Lionel Butler first. If you remember that fight, yeah, Lennox came back much bigger. And remember, Andy Lee's from the thought process of Emmanuel Stewart, James Ali Bashir. He's from that world of thinking. Wardley keeps grinding out these wins. He does. Mate, listen, I think he's one of a kind. I think Wardley is a genius. He's at genius level because it's not logical what he's doing. It's not logical. Is British boxing in a good state? Wardley is that guy, yeah. You know Wardley. A good example of Wardley is, yeah, for people who don't quite get why my head is spun tonight. Wardley's that guy who has been doing Flight Simulator on his PC, yeah, and then suddenly he said, you know what? I fancy myself as a pilot in real life. I started flying for British Airways. And every flight he lands the plane, people are saying, wow, he's landed the plane. He landed a plane for 5 miles. He landed a plane 10 miles. Now he's gone across the whole Atlantic. And he's landed the plane safely. That's what Wardley is. Jesus. I don't know what to think. is British boxing in a good state? Well, ask Frank Warren if he's in a good state. In terms of heavyweight boxing, he's got their heavyweight division cornered. So, what's the chance of the next heavyweight champion of the world being a Brit? I mean, Frank's got how many chances to roll the dice? Frank can literally roll the dice. And if he rolls the dice with one, and you don't get it, he can get it with another. Frank has a real great opportunity to have a Royal Rumble, yeah? Because he could have all the British guys fighting on one night. He could have Fury, Atama, Okoli, Dubois. The only guy that's frozen out is Anthony Joshua. That's it. Wardley, Chisora, White. We heard Tunde rave on about Yard's 12 amateur fights. Wardley had none. Well, yeah, that's a guy that's in. I'm very worried about Anthony Yard. I really am. And who is Anthony Yard? Can anyone tell me who Anthony Yard is sparring to prepare for David Benavidez? Frank going to throw the light-skinned army at Usyk. Wardley first, and if Usyk beats him, then he'll put Italian next year. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be it's a light-skinned army indeed. Have Chisora beaten White? Well, if David Hayes says Dillian White is going to stop Chisora, I'm definitely going to go down to the bookies and put money on Chisora. I'm going to call it. I'm going to have a new segment called Make a Bet with Hay. So anything David Hay says, I'm going opposite of. I should have known the minute that David Hay said he was backing Parker for a definite win. I should have gone and put my money on Wardley. Flipping hell. A light skin betting against a light skin. I should have known better. I should have known better. I should have known better. Hey, if you're in the room, please do smash the like button. I really appreciate if you smash the like button because it helps with the video. Yeah. Oh, I wanted to tell you something, a very touching story before I end. I was talking to Tony Sisse today. He was a close friend and boxed with Ricky Hatton. And yeah, very well respected man within the world of boxing, Tony Sisse. Do check out that interview. And he was the one that introduced Ricky Hatton to Oasis. And he said to Oasis, the Gallagher brothers, he said to them, listen, this guy's going to do big things in boxing. So that's how Ricky Hatton and then Oasis got together. He said that many people watched the video of Tony Sisse's emotional interview with myself. I mean, yeah, he really loved Ricky. You could see the emotions on his face. And if you haven't seen the interview, do check it out. It's on the channel. Do check it out. Please do smash the like button as you're in the room. It doesn't take anything. Just just click the like button. Click the like button. If you haven't subscribed already, please do subscribe to the channel as well. And yeah, my God, Fabio Wardley, all hell, Fabio Wardley, could he be the next heavyweight champion of the world? And now, where do you rank Fabio Wardley? Wardley versus Caballero. Would you make that fight? And if you were to make that fight, who would you have in that fight between Caballero and Fabio Wardley? And is Fabio Wardley the second best heavyweight in the world? How does Fabio Wardley do against Okoli? How does he do against Andy Ruiz? How does he do against Jerome Miller? What would have happened if he'd fought Jerome Miller? Those are three guys there. Interesting. Or even Caballero. There's four guys there that I'm interested in. He got past Parker. Could he beat Andy Ruiz, who's very good, known for his left hook? And Parker was catching Wardley with the left hook. Could he beat Caballero? Caballero's very good to the body and to the head. A master tactician. Could he beat Jerome Miller with that physical, walking him down, not allowing him to, Wardley having to work all the time? Has he got the power to stop Jerome Miller? And in-shape Jerome Miller, not the Jerome Miller that fought Daniel Dubois. Who knows? How would he do against Moses Atalma? If Moses Atalma were to beat Fabio Wardley, then where does that put Moses Atalma? I don't know, mate. Listen, I don't know what to think anymore. Tonight has made my head wobble and wobble again. I got to say, congratulations once again to Fabio Wardley, Josie Parker. You came in at £260, and it seems like it backfired on you. I thought Parker would have won by knockout. What a chin Fabio Wardley's got. What heart, what guts, what determination, and what bloody mindedness. Yeah, what more can you say? Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to share this video. All you have to do is click the share button and just push the arrow in the corner. There's an arrow in the corner. Push the arrow and share it on your WhatsApp page. Just let everyone know you're watching BWTM Sports Gaming. Right, I'm out of here. I still need to give my head a wobble because I can't believe Fabio Wardley did it. Logically, he shouldn't have done it. Well done. And as for Josie Parker, mate, I don't know where you go from here. Maybe you could go down the WBA route. Who knows? Good night, everyone. Thank you for watching.